Hey, hello there. Hope everyone is doing good. Today's recording is about Thomas Edison. We are entering the second part of the recording. I had already completed the first part, and for those who hadn't watched the first part, I'll provide the link in the description below. First part was about Thomas Edison and his early inventions. Now let's keep rolling with the second part. Menlo Park Laboratory. In 1876, Edison established a laboratory at Menlo Park, New Jersey, the first laboratory dedicated to industrial research in the world. In just over a decade, Edison's Menlo Park Laboratory had expanded to occupy two city blocks, and people throughout the world knew of Edison as the Wizard of Menlo Park. Edison said he wanted the lab to have a stock of almost every conceivable material. Edison's major work like the phonograph, the incandescent lamp, and electric power distribution systems all happened in the Menlo Park Lab. The telephone. Edison's first major achievement at Menlo Park was an improvement on the telephone. The telephone that Alexander Graham Bell patented in 1876 could not operate over distances of more than 2 to 3 miles, that is 3 to 5 kilometers. After hundreds of experiments, Edison improved the telephone to such an extent that it would carry speech clearly over almost unlimited distances. In March 1878, Edison's telephone system connected New York City to Philadelphia at a distance of 107 miles, which is 172 kilometers. The phonograph. While working on the telephone, he had noticed how the phone's diaphragm, a thin membrane in the mouthpiece, vibrated in tune with the voice. He thought that if these vibrations could somehow be recorded so that the diaphragm could be made to vibrate in exactly the same manner at any future time, and then speech, music, and other sounds could be preserved and reproduced. This made him curious and work on perhaps his most original invention. In an experiment in 1877, Edison used a needle and holded one end of the needle to the diaphragm and the other end to a strip of waxed paper. He then pulled the paper along underneath the needle while repeatedly shouting, "Hello!" The needle created grooves in the paper activated by the vibrations of the diaphragm. When the paper was again pulled along underneath the needle, it pushed against the diaphragm, making sound reproduced. In later experiments, in February 1878, Edison replaced the wax paper with metal cylinders covered with tin foils. He obtained a patent on the phonograph. The incandescent lamp. After patenting the phonograph, Edison was experimenting to develop an incandescent lamp, which would produce light by heating a wire until it glowed brightly. People already used electric arc light. However, it produced too much heat, which made them unstable for home use. Like Edison, many others tried before him the idea of light with a glowing wire or filament made of a substance that could withstand very high temperature without melting. But after hundreds of trials and more than a year of steady work, Edison developed a high resistance carbon thread filament that burned steadily for more than 40 hours. Although his incandescent electric light was not the first, but it was the first practical one to consume small amount of current and lasted a longer. The Edison effect. While Edison was working on the electric light, he made an important scientific discovery that would become the future. Edison noticed the inside of his incandescent light bulb were blackened, and he understood that it was caused by the particles of carbon from the filament of the light bulb. In 1884, Edison received a patent for a device based on the effect. Not until 1897, British physicist J.J. Thomson proved that the blackening observed by Edison was caused by the emission of electrons. This effect was called Edison effect, and it became the foundation of all modern electronics. Radio, television, radar, and computer all depends on it. Electric power distribution systems. Edison realized that for a commercial success and widespread use of his incandescent electric light bulb, he had to develop an economic plan for delivering electricity to homes and businesses. To achieve this plan, he generated current by means of a central dynamo and then distributing it in a small quantities to thousands of homes and commercial buildings. Edison even developed a greatly improved dynamo to reduce the cost of generating electricity. This electric power distribution system, Edison suggested in 1879, included the parallel circuits, safety fuses, insulating materials, and copper wire networks, which are used now in the modern electrical systems. By 1881, Edison had set up a complete electric lighting system at his Menlo Park home. In 1882, the Edison Electric Lighting Company completed and began operating the first commercial generating station for incandescent lighting in the world at Holborn Viaduct in London. This installation supplied power for 2000 lamps. Later in 1882, Edison established the first permanent incandescent light and power station for private consumers called the Pearl Street Generation Station in the New York City. We have come to the end. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. We'll meet again in the third part. Have a nice day. Goodbye.